All right, guys, we are back. We are 113 games through the Mariners season. So, gotten into the home stretch now. There's less than 50 games left, and technically the team is still positioned to make a push at the playoffs. Unfortunately, the last couple of weeks of Mariners baseball was not what we needed. And especially with the results against the Yankees in the most recent four-game series, we're behind the eight ball. But let's go ahead and break it down. 113 games down, 49 to go. The team still has stuff to play for in front of them. The team is still fully capable of getting on a run and competing for a wild card spot. But the last couple weeks have been difficult. So mostly the last week and a half, we've just had some very frustrating results. We are now losing the games that we had been winning. And we really can't afford to do that because this team is playing way above their head. I know that, okay? Trust me. I am not saying this team is good. I don't even think this team is average. They might be playing average for stretches of the season, but it's not a very good team. So for us to start to lose close games is a problem. We have 6 losses in the last week and a half. All of them were painful, and 5 of them were agonizing. Walk-offs, extra innings, blown late leads, bullpen can't get it done, just one thing after another. Drop 2 games to the Rangers, which you really can't afford to do, and then you drop 3 of 4 to the Yankees. I know we did win the series against the Rays, which was great, but that's part of a much bigger picture. Honestly, we probably needed to win at least 2 games from the Yankees and sweep the Rangers. So that puts us in a bad spot right now. And the fact that all these games have come down to the last pitch, really, it's been very, very aggravating because those were the games we had been winning all year. But the thing is, outside of one area of this team, I don't feel like this team is playing really bad all of a sudden. Maybe that's the most frustrating thing. At the plate, the team is still not good or anything, but we're not doing any worse than we were before. Ty France still playing pretty well. Dylan Moore's starting to make some plays at the plate. Crawford's fine. Torrens cooled off a little bit. Fraley's cooled off a little bit. Yeah, okay. A couple of these guys, they have work to do. They need to get back on track, but we're still getting great stuff from Haniger, Seager, and Klenic has looked like an MLB caliber player at the plate ever since he got called back up. I'm not saying it's been amazing because it hasn't been, but he's doing the things that he needs to do to prove that he belongs and giving us reason to believe he can be great next year. Cal Riley, same thing. I'm not going to pretend like he's been good. You can't bat 161 and be called good, but I see the promise there. I see the potential there. I don't know if we need to send him down or not, but I don't hate what he's showing so far at the plate for the Mariners. And Abraham Toro, I mean, forget about it. This is an inhuman streak of hitting he's been on since he got here. He's been our best player since he got here, and I don't think it's very close. So, Abraham Toro, whatever you can say about this guy cooling off a little bit or that guy struggling a little at the plate, Abraham Toro has been so good since he got here that you shouldn't really be able to say that the lineup has just completely collapsed, because that's not what's happening. You can't completely collapse when you add a player who is batting above 200 ops plus, 220 almost ops plus. That can't be the case. What we're seeing is the team not hitting when they need to get the hits. When they get runners on in scoring position, they're not bringing them home. They're not stringing their hits together. They're getting their hits in fragmented little bunches that are not enough to get the runs home. It's the exact opposite of what we were doing earlier this season. There was that game against the Rangers where we got walked off in the ninth, where we had the opportunity to score 12 runs in that game. I honestly think we should have scored 10 to 12 runs in that game with all the base runners we got, with all the walks we drew, with how hard we made those pitchers on Texas work. Couldn't do it. We scored 3. Bullpen blew the lead. So I don't know what they need to do differently. I don't feel like any of these guys are playing remarkably worse. I don't feel like our top players have completely fallen off a cliff, and that's maybe the most frustrating thing. You can't point to any 1 or 2 players and go, these guys need to step up. These players are playing at about the level they were at before. They're just not getting the runners home anymore, and this team cannot afford to do that. They're not good enough to not bunch their hits together. And the problem is not with the starting pitching either. That's been mostly pretty fine. I mean, these games that we've been in against these teams, the Rays, the Rangers, the Yankees, the starting pitching has done pretty well. And that's another really frustrating thing, too, because Marco's actually had 3 really good starts in a row. He did get 2 wins out of it, but the Yankees ended up, thank you, Castillo, for that one. The Yankees still ended up beating us. We got a decent start out of Logan Gilbert against the Yankees, I think it was. Couldn't get the win. These starters are actually playing better than I can ever recall them playing this year. I feel better about our starting rotation than I have in a while. Kikuchi, Flexen, Gonzo, Gilbert, and hopefully we can get Justin Dunn back soon. But if not, Anderson, the guy we got from Pittsburgh, been good so far. I know he's just an inning sponge, but he's been a quality inning sponge so far. For a kind of nothing player, he's done well so far, and I'm willing to give him a chance going forward to be the 5th man in this rotation, or 6th man once we get some guys back. So, it's not really the lineup, even though they're not scoring as much as they were. It's not the starting pitching, so it's the bullpen, and this is where things are going to get a little sticky for this front office and ownership group, because there's a very obvious scapegoat here, and I need to push back on that a little bit, I think, because I know there's going to be a very obvious and clear place to blame for the Mariners not having a good 2-week stretch, but I can't do that. I cannot put it on that. And that I'm talking about is, of course, the Kendall Graveman trade. So I see it in the Facebook groups. I see it in some other Mariner circles that I'm in. People just ranting and raving about the Graveman trade and blaming everything that's happened over the last 2 weeks on that trade. But I'm sorry, guys. Toro is far more valuable to this team than Graveman was. Toro has been our best player since we got him. So even if Graveman would have been worth a win or 2 above what we've gotten over the last couple weeks, which I'm a little dubious on anyway, keeping Graveman means you don't get Toro. And without Toro, we're really not putting up runs in the last 2 weeks. Beyond that, the bullpen falling to pieces has been a group effort over the past 2 weeks. Yes, Castillo blew 2 saves. One of them I don't really put on him that much. It was an extra inning thing. When you start with a runner on second base, you're probably going to give up the run. That's just the nature of the extra inning rule this year. I'm not that mad about it. The other one was just some crap, like throw a strike. And I get it. And a lot of people are angry at him right now, Mariners fans, and they should be. Like, again, just throw a damn strike. Literally, I think he walked the bases loaded against the Yankees when we were trying to preserve a low-scoring win. But Steckenrider has gotten in on this. He blew a game. Anthony Sandwich, who had been pitching better lately, he got in on it too. He had a bad outing. Sewald, I think, got in on it. I think Middleton got in on it. This Swanson, I believe, had a bad bullpen outing that cost us a chance at a win. Sadler, this whole bullpen has picked a really bad time to just decide, we lost our best guy, so none of us are going to step up to pick up the slack on not having Graveman anymore. No, we're all going to suck now. We're all going to find ways to blow games. And I don't want to say I don't have any trust in those guys anymore, but it it was definitely putting me in a pretty dark place when I was watching bullpen pitcher after bullpen pitcher after bullpen pitcher find different ways to blow winnable games. And most of those games, I'll admit it, we didn't score enough runs. Scoring 3 runs against Texas, that's not the fault of your pitching staff. Your offense needs to do better than that, especially in Texas in that stadium. So, no, it's not the Graveman trade. To a certain extent, it is the Castillo trade, but it's bigger than that. There's a lot of guys in this bullpen who were playing well when we traded Graveman, and they didn't get it done over the last couple weeks. I don't know if that's going to get better or not. I have to believe it will for at least some of them, but for some of them it may not. So I don't know. It's been really aggravating these last couple weeks watching our starters go out there and pitch really well for the most part. And I know the offense has to produce more than they've been producing the last couple weeks, but this bullpen, you lose your best guy in a trade, and I'm sorry, guys, it was a good trade. TlVlO has been really good. And unlike Graveman, who is on the wrong side of 30 and was going to be a free agent next year, TlVlO can be part of this team for a long time at a reasonable cost. But we need other guys in this bullpen to step up. Middleton, Sandwich, Sioux, Steckenrider, Swanson, Sadler, Castillo, of course. They need to get it done. And I don't see how this is on the front office. I really don't. The players need to perform. I don't see how this is not to say that he's perfect, but Servais, I don't see how this is a Servais problem. I don't see how this is a front office problem. Players need to perform. And we had every reason to believe that these guys could perform based off what we were seeing through 100+ games, and lately it hasn't been panning out. Got to play better. All right, I'm out of here. 9 games coming up. Next 9 games. I think 6 against Texas, 3 against Toronto. We can afford to maybe lose 2, I think. We're 5 games back, 49 to go. We have a pretty soft schedule, but we need to win those soft games. So I say we need to win 7 of the next 9 games. And then we get Houston, and they're good, so that's going to be difficult to manage. But losing against them is not the worst thing in the world as long as you're conceding that we're never going to catch them in the division, which I have. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Go Mariners. Frustrating couple weeks for sure, but we kind of had it coming. Let's be real here. See ya.